You thought the roar of T-Rex sounded like this. Wrong. This is what it truly sounded like. This was no roar at all. It was a surge of infrasound rising from deep within the earth. You wouldn't hear it with your ears first. Instead, your chest cavity, your bones, even the roots of every tooth would resonate violently. That heavy, pulse-like vibration was like an invisible giant hand, squeezing your internal organs, sending your body into instant physiological spasms. But sound was merely the tip of its terrifying iceberg. Regarding its 10-ton body of primal fury, even its footsteps carried an eerie sense of despair, because it had evolved thick, elephant-like, fatty foot pads. This multi-ton colossus moved as silently as a cat. When you hide behind an abandoned car, straining your ears, desperately trying to detect any trace of its heavy footsteps, all you hear is your own heartbeat. You have absolutely no idea that a massive shadow has already loomed above you. 10 tons in weight, 13 meters in length. In the real natural world, this was an existence that defied the laws of physics. For comparison, the largest land animal on Earth today, the adult African elephant, maxes out at around 6 tons and requires 4 massive legs to distribute its weight. Yet the T-Rex carried the weight of nearly 2 African elephants, entirely on just 2 hind legs. This was no ordinary carbon-based life form. It was nature's creation, forged at any cost, from high-density bones and savage, unyielding muscle, a bipedal physical steamroller. At its very front, it carried a skull 1.5 meters long, a heavily armored skull built purely for killing. Everyone mocks its inability to reach its own mouth, yet fails to understand this insane law of evolution. To support that 1.5-meter armored skull and its ferocious neck muscles, it invested every evolutionary point entirely into its head. These arms, capable of single-arm curling over 200 kilograms despite their small size, were merely the price it willingly paid to forge the ultimate crushing machine. But here, we must shatter. The lie Jurassic Park has fed you for 30 years. The latest fossil evidence from 2023 ruthlessly confirms T-Rex had thick lips. With its mouth closed, it had no exposed fangs whatsoever. It looked more like an extremely cold-blooded, giant reptile with an eerily subtle smile. A colossal lizard. Those teeth, capable of piercing steel plate in an instant, were perfectly concealed beneath its thick lips. Until the very last second, it decided to execute you. Would they be revealed in a flash? Equally mind-shattering was its speed. Biomechanical calculations had determined its routine patrolling speed was only 5 kilometers per hour. Exactly the speed of a human walking. If it ever sprinted at full speed, its skeleton, weighing over 8 tons, would instantly snap under the stress. This means it was not a brute that relied on explosive power, but an endurance-type reaper. If your luck was truly terrible, and this reaper locked onto you, you could turn and sprint, desperately searching for cover. But it would be utterly pointless. Its vision and olfactory radar had already sealed off every possible escape. That grotesquely oversized olfactory bulb in its brain could precisely detect the living scent you emit from kilometers away, and those thick pads beneath its feet could pick up with extreme sensitivity the high-frequency micro-vibrations from your panicked footsteps on the ground. No matter how fast you run, it simply strolled behind you at a leisurely pace. It didn't need to sprint. It only needed to wait for your stamina to drain and despair to set in. Its casual, strolling gait was the pendulum counting down your life. And when this reaper finally stood before you, the most desperate scene would unfold. The latest research has discovered, on its snout, densely packed trigeminal nerve foramina, similar to those of modern crocodiles. This means, when those abyssal jaws drew close to your body, it possessed an extraordinarily refined micro-tactile sense. It didn't need to use its eyes at all, just a gentle touch of its snout. And like a precision surgeon, it could instantly locate the most vulnerable point on your cervical spine. Even more terrifying, its mouth was lined with 60 monstrous teeth, each up to 30 centimeters from root to tip. Unlike other carnivorous dinosaurs that used thin blade-like teeth for slicing flesh, T-Rex's teeth were as thick as bananas, conical in shape, with edges lined with barbed serrations. These were not teeth. These were nature's custom-made armor-piercing rounds. Their sole purpose of existence was to bypass any physical defense and pierce straight through bone. When these armor-piercing rounds came crashing down, according to biomechanical calculation, its upper and lower jaws would instantly unleash a terrifying force of 8 metric tons of static bite force. What does this mean? It's equivalent to an adult African elephant concentrating its full body weight onto your chest, or 5 fully loaded heavy-duty pickup trucks, all pressing down on a single point. Before that monstrous force, the hard human skull we take such pride in was like a ripe grape struck by a solid iron hammer, bursting apart instantly. But it didn't end there. Once it clamped down on its prey, its neck muscles, thicker than an elephant's legs, would fire in an instant, thrashing violently like a raging excavator. In biology, this is known as the death shake. Under this incredibly terrifying centrifugal force, the prey was not killed by the bite. Its entire spine was violently wrenched apart, and its organs were instantly churned into pulp inside the chest cavity. Multi-ton triceratops that it had bitten, on their fossilized bones, still bear the brutal marks of being swallowed whole. Flesh, bone, and all crushed to splinters. In Earth's 4.6 billion year history, T-Rex existed for a mere 2.5 million years. As brief as the blink of an eye. But do you know that in this fleeting window of time, on this planet, how many of these armored killers were ever born? 2.5 billion. A full 2.5 billion max-level killing machines once rampaged across this planet, the very ground beneath your feet right now. On a certain night 68 million years ago, may have had a T-Rex, using its eyes, as powerful as a modern eagle's, fixed unblinkingly on its prey ahead, an ultimate predator that maxed out stealth, perception, and raw destructive power, and proliferated to 2.5 billion strong, yet could not escape a cosmic-scale purge. 66 million years ago, an asteroid 10 kilometers wide struck the Earth. What truly killed them was not the explosion, but the cruel silence that followed. Silicate dust filled the sky and blotted out the sun. Global temperatures plummeted catastrophically. The food chain collapsed entirely from the bottom up. These most perfect armored killers in Earth's history were starved to death. During the long, brutal nuclear winter, they watched in despair as the savage muscles that once tore everything apart withered away bit by bit, cannibalizing one another over the last scraps of their own kind. They all ultimately collapsed into the cold mud. Today, humans have built civilization with steel and silicon, and crowned themselves the new rulers of the Earth. But look at the increasingly extreme climate. Look at how just a few days without power would completely paralyze our cities. T-Rex, with its bones turned to dust, tells us the coldest truth of all. Ultimate perfection is often the beginning of extinction. When nature, the true house in this game, coldly pulls the energy parameters from the base level. Our pitiful technological defenses, are they really more resilient than the bone-crushing jaws of T-Rex?